All right, I think we're live. Are we going?
Going.
Perfect. Hi, I'm Chris, and this is Zach, and we're live right now from Georgetown University. We're actually the directors of Living on $1, which some of you guys might have seen before, and also the creators of Salam Neighbor, new feature film here on Syrian refugees.
And we're really excited today. Her Majesty Queen Rania of Jordan is about to arrive and give opening remarks. We also have Ambassador Verveer and the President of the IRC, David Miliband, here doing opening remarks as well to a sold-out theater in Gaston Hall at Georgetown. And all of our partners are here. We have Riot, we have Global Citizen, UNHCR, the UN Refugee Agency, as well as Save the Children. And so we'll give you a sneak peek. People are just entering right now, but we're about to go in.
We'll show you guys the theater, and what's really cool about today especially is that it's actually the launch of the film on iTunes. So right now, if any of you guys go to iTunes, you can pre-order Salam Neighbor and get to start this conversation in your community, which is kind of the key point, is start that in your family. So.
And before we see the remarks, we're going to actually have time to go by the green room in the back and introduce you to David Miliband, as well as our producers, Salam and Mohab. And Salam actually is one of the inspirations for the film. We met her on tour with our first film, and she's the daughter of Palestinian refugees. And up with what we were seeing in the news, and it made us realize that this was a story we needed to tell. And so, unfortunately for our mothers, we decided to go live in a refugee camp.
Kind of answer some of these bigger questions around what is it really like to rebuild your life after you've lost everything. And for us, that isn't an answer right now that we're getting from short soundbite news. So you guys will get to see a sneak peek of the film in a second. I promise you, we're going to show you, we'll also show you a little bit of our virtual reality film. But right now, let us introduce you to the fellow creators of the film, Mohab Khattab here and Salam Darwasa.
How are you guys?
And then also the president of the IRC, David Miliband, we're lucky to have here today. But as we were saying, this is Salam, who was the daughter of Palestinian refugees. And I mean, just tell us a little bit about your story here.
Yeah, both my parents were Palestinian refugees, and I call myself a host country kid. I grew up in host countries, and I benefited from host countries. My father became an urban refugee in Jordan, and many years ago, and so we are grateful today for having the Queen of Jordan here. But it's a very personal connection for me, and I'm very grateful to that country. He also went to the American University in Lebanon, another host country that's been a host country for many years. I grew up in Saudi Arabia, where I had an upbringing with Aramco, the Arabian American Oil Company. So I've always been at an intersection where the Middle East and America met, and something very positive happened. And that's kind of how this idea kind of started, where we really wanted to show situations like that where the Middle East and the West met and some good things happened. And so this is how Chris and Zach got to live in a refugee camp. And I've been in the US for many years now, going to school here and living in Manhattan Beach, California. So
yeah. What about you? Yeah.
Well, I mean, the whole point of this movie and why I got involved in this movie is to try to dispel a lot of the negative stereotypes that you see about Arabs and Muslims around the world. And those stereotypes really have created a wall that hinders compassion. And that's what we're trying to do, is humanize these refugees and help people feel compassion for them. And I think we've done it.
Yeah, and then David, we're just honored to have you here tonight, and a number of the IRC stories are actually featured in the film, the amazing work that they're doing on the ground. But just tell us a little bit.
Well, we're honored to be part of this extraordinary story. I think one of the biggest things in the midst of the refugee crisis is that people lose their humanity in the statistics. And this film, I'll say this to the audience in the remarks I make, this film reminds you that 23 million people are 23 million stories.
Yeah.
And in the midst of Zatri, there's stories. Yeah. And in the middle of Mafraq, there are stories, and they're human stories, and they're individual stories. And I think that's really important, because the forces of fear thrive on dehumanization.
Completely.
And this film is about humanization, right? Humanizing the story and calling on a sense of humanity, that there's an awful lot of the people in the film who you'll see a lot of yourself in them.
Yeah.
And I think that when you can see some of yourself in someone in a tragic situation, you think, there, but for the grace of God go I, and hopefully it summons forth the kind of compassion and engagement that's so important.
And what's awesome is tonight we actually have, thank you so much, I mean, tonight we have 900 something people who have RSVP'd to this event, many of whom can make action, can kind of move forward and even help work, some of the work that the IRC does here in the US. They actually do a lot of work resettling refugees into our own communities. That's really what this film is. The first starting point is the film, but then beyond that, it's action. It's getting people to actually move forward and take action. So let's show you the people who are going to take action here for a second. We'll see if you can still hear us on stage out here. So it looks like we're filling up really well. This is Gaston Hall at Georgetown.
So we were so honored to have Georgetown give us this space and actually let us, they're prepared to have someone like the Queen join us. So, you know, it's actually events like these that we've been doing all over the country. We've done over, yeah, it's pretty loud. We've done over 200 events all over the country. We've been in North Carolina, we've been in Nebraska, Atlanta, Seattle, Vancouver, Texas, all over the country, challenging this conversation. And we've actually held off from iTunes and digital platforms because we value this kind of conversation so much, because it's here that we can come together as communities and really challenge the way that people are being talked about as refugees. And so that was, you know, that's our very humble goal of this film, is to at least start that conversation. And it's really up to everyone out here and everyone that's watching this to take action.
What's great is everybody has kind of been building momentum through this tour and through being a part of events like this for moments like today when the film launches on iTunes. And we do encourage you guys, if you want to be a part of changing this conversation, to go to iTunes, to pre-order the film, and to really help kind of spread the stories of our friends in the camp, Raouf, Ismail. For a number of you who've seen the film, you'll know them, and we will again tonight be sending a video from this event out to Ismail and Raouf, and they are also hopefully watching this. So I sent this link out to
Raouf, Ismail, Umali, Gausun, Gassam, if you're out there, you know, we're truly honored, and hopefully one day you'll be up here speaking instead of us. And we know that's not possible right now, but you know, hopefully in the future, the world will be a more welcoming place for refugees. So we can actually take you outside, give you a quick look.
How many people do we have watching?
We've got 1,000.
Nice, got 1,000 people on there.
Yeah.
That's sweet. Any commenters along the bottom?
Oh, lots of comments.
You guys can feel free to comment along the way, ask us questions. We'll be answering. We probably only have one more minute till the Queen comes, but let's show you the virtual reality film really quickly.
So we have a special moment with a virtual reality film, so you can watch in 360 degrees, and we're going to show you that really quick.
All right, the Queen is coming. Perfect. Let's just show you quick if you keep coming this way. You guys will get to take a photo with the Queen. So we're going to... So we have a virtual reality film that we've been creating with Riot, actually. RYOT here. Riot are partners on the film, and so this virtual reality film you can actually put on. Sorry, I just need to put this in here for a sec. You can actually put on one of these headsets, and then actually it'll transport you. Yeah, it'll transport you to Syria initially. So he's inside of the bombed out buildings of Aleppo, and then it'll take you across the border like a refugee journey into Zaatari refugee camp and eventually into Amman, where many refugees are living. And I think
I'm actually inside of Aleppo, Syria right now, and I can look in any direction.
I think that one thing that people really don't remember about refugees, and the thing that stands out to us, is that on average, refugees are displaced for 17 years. 17 years, so that's a lifetime for a lot of people where you are rebuilding your lives. And our friend Firas in this film, he was a lawyer back in Syria. He has a 2-year-old son, and he's just trying to rebuild his life. So
I think we're going.
It looks like we might be live. Let's go in here and check this out quick. So we're gonna...
Could you ask everyone to just come in?
Okay, I'm gonna be whispering, but we're gonna go and set up, and so you guys can listen to the remarks from the Queen. We'll set you up right here. Thank you so much for watching. So we'll see when she comes out. So looks like we have a packed house here. Can you even hear me? I'm not sure, but I'll talk a little bit. What about some of the, are there any good commenters?
Let's see. They're big fans of Zach's beard.
Nice. I know he's been growing that out. It's a really nice beard.
You got a shout out from Lebanon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you guys for watching. It's amazing that, you know, a live stream like this, we can be showing it to, our friends in a refugee camp can be watching this, or we can be sharing from these types of events, you know, conversations that are happening all over the world. And I think that that's something that's often overlooked, is our ability to, in the much smaller world now, to create that kind of impact through our ability to travel, through just communication. And that's why it's important that we're careful about the way we talk about refugees. It's really, refugees, you know, they are our brothers, our friends, they're doctors, and should be treated in that way, not necessarily with the fear that many of us have.
Right. So Ann Robertson just posted a comment saying, "Good job, you two. To think this started with the school project."
Yeah. So thank you, Ann. Hi, how are you? Yeah, it did. It really, you know, for us, it started in college, and it really was never supposed to be anything beyond a few YouTube videos that we started making. And now it ended up being the feature film, Living on $1, that went all over and then inspired us in film. So Zach and I have actually never taken a film class in our entire lives. But it's a medium that I think is really powerful to try to create this sort of impact. But I just got buzzed that I need to meet the Queen in the green room, so I'm gonna go back. But you can take some comments from the audience and show off a little bit here, and we'll see the Queen talk in a couple minutes.
Well. Hey ladies, I'm live streaming from Salam Neighbor. You guys want to talk about how great the film is or how excited you are? Any thoughts?
This is a wonderful event thus far, and we're very, very excited to be here. I'm extremely excited to hear the Queen speak and also to watch the movie. It should be really eye-opening.
Great. Thanks, guys. Yeah, we have hello to Facebook. All right, guys, say hello to Facebook Live. You're on the Salam Neighbor page. How excited for you are the film? How did you hear about it?
I heard a lot about it, and like my last year in my Spanish class, we studied the Living on One series the whole last semester.
Really?
So I'm really excited.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Me too.
Oh, perfect. Woo. All right, wave goodbye. Thanks, everybody. Bye, Facebook. Whoa. You want to talk to Facebook for a little bit about Salam Neighbor? No. Yes, you do.
Yes, she does.
Yeah, you do. All right, say hello to Facebook. Some of our some of our wonderful volunteers. There are 3,000 people looking at your faces right now. Great. So tell me about why you guys wanted to get involved with this film, or how excited you are about tonight.
Sure.
Everything.
I did part of my study abroad in Jordan. I was in Amman for a couple of months with two of the students who put this together, and I kind of saw firsthand the wide-reaching impact that the refugee crisis is having over there. So it's just absolutely incredible to be able to engage with it back here at home as well. What about you?
Literally the same thing. It's just, no, in the sense that like getting the first-hand experience of watching a movie on the refugees and being able to like really connect with that. Not see what you see on the news, but see their actual life and how much they've gone through. So it's very special.
Thanks, guys. We're gonna head out towards Queen Rania right now. Woo. Behind closed doors. Say hello to Facebook. Still scared?
Yes.
All right. Why don't one of you? Yeah.
Sure.
They're volunteers. All right.
She's coming through.
Verveer, and it is my great pleasure to welcome each and every one of you to Georgetown University for this special program focusing on the plight of refugees from the civil war in Syria, putting a human face on what those consequences represent. With us tonight are the producers and director of the moving film Salam Neighbor, which you will see shortly, and after the film we will have a conversation with them. But before we get there, we have two other very special guests. I want to welcome back to Georgetown Her Majesty Queen Rania. She will be introduced much more properly shortly, but I wanted to add my personal welcome to you, Your Majesty. I have known her for more than 20 years, and I have witnessed firsthand the profound impact she has had for good all over Jordan and beyond. I have seen what she has done in improving education, which is her passion. I have seen the investments she has made in microfinance to lift up particularly women. I have also seen the great commitment to innovation and entrepreneurial investments that are so important to her country. And she has also been engaged in something our world needs desperately: cross-cultural understanding and dialogue, tolerance. So it is really a wonderful, wonderful pleasure to have you with us, Your Majesty. We also welcome Jordan's ambassador to Washington, David Miliband, and sad to say, she will be leaving Washington soon, and we will miss her greatly. But she has been just an extraordinary ambassador for Georgetown, for Jordan and for Georgetown, hopefully, here in the United States. So, bon voyage. Now let us welcome another special guest, David Miliband. We are truly honored to have him with us, the former Secretary of the United Kingdom, the former Foreign Secretary of the United Kingdom. And I might add that he was 41 years old when he assumed that incredible position. He is today the President and CEO of the International Rescue Committee, which is one of the most effective humanitarian organizations in the world. I first met David when he was head of policy for then Prime Minister Tony Blair. We all knew him as the whiz kid, the absolutely brilliant policy wonk, and he is still that brilliant policy person and so much more. David was elected to Parliament. He served in various ministerial posts before becoming a member of the cabinet in 2006 as Environmental Secretary and then Foreign Secretary. As head of the IRC, and this is particularly important for tonight, he has become a powerful voice for humanitarian relief and an advocate on behalf of the unprecedented number of people uprooted by the conflict, by war and disasters everywhere. In a speech delivered less than a year ago at Harvard, he talked about the pressures on humanitarian relief today, on the sector. And he said then, the humanitarian sector is designed to address the victims of wars between states. Yet more and more we are dealing with those affected by wars within states. The sector is designed around the responsibilities of nations, yet more and more we are working in the midst of battles between nations and non-state actors. The sector is designed to house people in refugee camps, yet a growing proportion of the displaced are not in camps. Those numbers are shrinking, not rising. The displaced population is increasingly young, female, and displaced for a long time. The average time for a refugee spends outside his or her country is now 20 years. That means, he said, there is a new and important agenda for the humanitarian sector. And he added, I want to lead that debate because we cannot just work harder or faster. We need to reform the system. And I have no doubt he will lead the way on that. So please welcome David Miliband.
Well, Ambassador Verveer, it's really a true honour to be here today to say a few words to introduce the IRC, the International Rescue Committee, one of the 4 partners of the Salam Neighbor film. Secondly, to say a few words of introduction to the film itself and the extraordinary burden, the extraordinary load, the extraordinary work that's gone on in Jordan over the last 5 years since the beginning of the Syria crisis. And thirdly, to say a few words, in all modesty, if I might, a few words to introduce Queen Rania, although it's very hard to introduce someone who needs no introduction. I think the place to start is that staggering figure that 1 in every 120 people on the planet is displaced by conflict at the moment. 20 million refugees and 40 million internally displaced people. That means displaced from their homes but remaining within the boundaries of their own country. 1 in every 120 persons is a displaced person today. That's a population the size of the United Kingdom. And in the midst of that global tumult, in the midst of that global displacement of people, there's a great danger. And that danger is that the individual humanity of each of those people is lost. And what I want to say about the work of the International Rescue Committee, about the film you're about to see, and about the work that Queen Rania does, is that what unites those 3 parts of tonight's event is the drive and determination to remember that each one of those 60 million people is an individual story. Just to start with the International Rescue Committee, we were founded by Albert Einstein in 1933 to rescue Jews from Europe. The work has proceeded over the last 80 plus years, so that today we are unusual in being both an international humanitarian aid organisation working in 30 countries that are either war-torn themselves or, like Jordan, are neighbours of those torn apart by a world war, or are nations that are transit routes for refugees. And last year we helped about 23 million people around the world. But we also see the other end of the crisis, the final move of refugees from harm to home, because in 26 cities around the United States we resettle refugees to start a new life. And therefore we do see the full arc of crisis. We see the pain and the suffering, and we see the hope, and then we finally see the renewal and the rebuilding. And I would say the biggest challenge that we face in the midst of this global crisis, in the midst of work to try to help 23 million people with health and education, with income and protection for women and for kids, the biggest challenge we face is to remember the individual story at the heart of it. And I think that when you see not just the IRC's work in this film, but other charities, Save the Children in the film, you'll see not just the heroism of the aid workers, but the common humanity of the aid workers that draws them to do their work. And you will also notice, I hope, you'll make a point of noticing, that the aid worker is a Jordanian or a Syrian or a Lebanese, not a Western aid worker jetting in. The vast bulk of the world's aid workers are local people, not Western aid workers. The second thing I just want to talk about is the film, and really to Chris and to Zach, who you're going to get a chance to meet later. They are literally half my age, and they have done something extraordinary because they turned up in Jordan. I don't think you've ever been to Jordan before. I'm not going to say a couple of kids with a couple of cameras, but a couple of very young people with a couple of cameras. And what they is really proof that the old adage that a picture is worth 1,000 words is true. In fact, the pictures that you'll see are worth 10,000 words. And in the course of the 4 weeks that they spent in Zaatari camp, in the course of the 5 weeks that they spent in Jordan, you can almost see the journey of a lifetime in the way people act and think and relate to each other. And really, this is a very nice public occasion for me to be able to pay tribute to what they've done in contributing to that really important work of humanizing the victims of other people's conflicts. I don't need to tell you that this is an election season in the United States. I don't need to tell you that we are a charity, so we don't take sides in politics. I don't need to tell you, because you can recognize by my accent that I'm not an American voter. So I have no say in the outcome of this election, but I obviously do have a stake in it. And the greatest worry that people like me have is that in the midst of the political debate, the humanity of the victims of wars, of other people's wars, is lost. And I hope that one of the things that this film can achieve, as it's watched around the United States and elsewhere, frankly, because there's as big a challenge in Europe as in the United States, I hope that the humanity of the people that you and others see in the film will bring out the humanity in you as well, in seeking to reach out and support some of the people that you see, some of the people who you'll never know their name, but I hope that this film helps them turn from strangers into fellow human beings. The third point I've been asked to make, I want to make, really speaks to that core notion that while the injunction to love your neighbour is challenging, the injunction to love a stranger is even more important. And that is really the work that I most admire that Queen Rania has done over the last 20 years. She is someone for whom no one is a stranger. And I've seen that at a distance. I can't say like Verveer that I've known her for 20 years. But I've watched for 20 years as she has reached across boundaries of nation and race and religion and creed and made sure that in her presence no one feels like a stranger. And what I've been able to see in the last couple of years that I've been leading the International Rescue Committee is that when Queen Rania is in the presence of people who have been displaced by conflict, when she visits the projects that we run in Jordan and elsewhere in the world, I hope I'm allowed to say this, it's not a queen talking to a commoner, it's a person talking to a person. And I hope I'm allowed to say that. But that is what I feel, and I hope in this context I'm allowed to say what I feel, because that ability to put people at ease and to help draw out their humanity in the midst of unspeakable struggle is an enormous gift, and something that's a gift not just to the people that you meet, but a gift to the wider international community. So, on that basis, I hope that you'll join me in giving a really warm welcome to Her Majesty Queen Rania.
David, your words really touched me, so thank you so much for that. Assalamu alaikum. Those words are how we greet one another in Arabic. They are words of acknowledgement, words of respect. They mean peace be upon you. And in many ways, they represent what this movie is all about. Acknowledging one another, being open to one another, respecting one another, and peace. At a time of savagery and conflict in Syria, there are millions who have fled. Millions who have left behind everything they had to choose peace instead of war. 1.3 million of these men, women, and children are living in Jordan today. Tens of thousands in camps like Zaatari, the one you will see in the film. But the vast majority, 90%, in our villages, cities, and towns. The people of Jordan have opened their homes and their hearts, their schools and healthcare centers, and extended the hand of friendship to those in desperate need. And I could not be more proud of their selflessness, their sacrifice, and their kindness. Today, Syrians are truly our neighbors. And with this film, you will get to know some of them too. What you'll see, as Chris and Zach saw when they moved into Zafari camp, is that beyond the headlines, behind the labels, are people that every one of you can relate to. Parents and children, teachers and students, neighbors and families and friends, human beings with human ambitions and human emotions. People to befriend, not to be feared. Of course, they have experienced unimaginable hardship. You will hear painful stories of trauma, heartbreak, loss, and fear. But what I love about this film is the resilience it reveals. For all that our neighbors have suffered, they have not abandoned hope. We see people who have nothing, finding ways to share everything: music, laughter, food. We see young men whose dreams have been stolen from them, finding ways to give comfort to others. We see mothers who can't find employment, launching businesses of their own. Among them, a woman who literally weaves beautiful flowers from plastic bags. We see children whose lives have been scarred by suffering and who aspire to grow up to be doctors. They are loving, creative, enterprising, determined individuals. And as Chris and Zach say, they remain the best hope for rebuilding their broken land. But that can't happen unless everyone does his or her part to help. And not just with a hashtag, but by offering a hand. That means supporting host countries like Jordan and others that are providing safe haven and services, and humanitarian agencies like the IRC that are working tirelessly to restore dignity and power to people devastated by conflict. It means ensuring that children receive the education on which their future, their country's future, depends. It means enabling opportunities for women as they assume responsibility for their households. It means creating economic zones to provide skills and training and jobs so we can incubate Syria's post-war economy and kickstart growth and recovery when peace comes, which is what we're doing in Jordan. The needs are great, so let us be great.